Welcome to the Tip Channel. That is perfection.
Chapter 4, which I'm going to label as presentation. Before I lose your focus, this is the point where you're going to try to sell somebody a kitchen. So many salespeople never ask for the sale. You've went to all this work, ask for the sale. After you've given the presentation, after you've given them the pricing, ask them, is there anything that I can do to get this sale from you? Did you like my presentation? Was there anything you want to change? Was the price within the budget point that you wanted to spend? Take the time to ask for the sale. So many people don't do that, and that's the most important part of making a sale. Now, at this point, we've got all our plans ready and we're ready to sit down with our client. Now, I typically do 3 plans. The reason that I do 3 plans is that it's going to put me a step above the competition. It's going to show my client I really want their job. So plan 1, as I've already said, needs to be the customer's idea. You've got to listen to what they told you whenever you measured the kitchen, and you want to show them their idea. Plan 2 is going to be something I'm going to come up with. I may be adding a center island to the kitchen. I might be adding an eating area to the kitchen, something like that. Plan 3 is going to be a plan that I will refer to as the pièce de résistance. I don't know, some type of French term, sounds pretty cool. Anyways, it's going to be an over-the-top plan. Now, it may be something that your customer doesn't want to spend that much on the kitchen, but you want to show them that. Say, wow, I really like what you did. You may have that client that's willing to go that additional amount of monies for that spectacular plan. You never really know. But what you're doing is you are showing the client what's possible with the kitchen. So all of a sudden they might say, wow, I really like the hutch area that you did in plan 3, but can you do that with plan 1? Sure. You're showing them what the possibilities are. They know what their wants and desires. They're the only one that can answer what is right for them. You're just showing them the possibilities. So for the presentation, how do you want to do this? Typically, as I mentioned, I'm going to do 3 plans. Of the 3 plans, I'm going to step through the floor plan first. It shows where everything's positioned at. Then I want to show elevation views and bird's eye views and what have you. So for a typical plan, there may be 5 or 6 different views that I'm looking at. So that's going to get very costly to use photo paper and print everything out in color, what have you. You can do that. And it is nice because your customer has something to take home with them, if you will, after you have the planning done. Second way, naturally, is to have a nice sized tablet. Bring up the views and show them on the tablet. You can also bring it up on a laptop or a computer and show them. You can take and email them and then get back together with them to sit down and talk about product and pricing, but you sort of lose that time that you're getting to spend with a client. So I really like to be able to sit down with a client and review the plans. Now, do you need a fancy showroom? No. I've sold kitchens out of a sample case with sample doors and literature. Again, it's about selling yourself. So you can sit down again with the client in their own home. The advantage to that is you're in your kitchen. You can reach right over and say, hey, you know, this is how we're doing here and here and here. So that's a possibility as well. Once you've actually showed them the 3 plans, and what you've done is that you've created a climax. No, not that type of climax. Like reading a good book. You're reading towards the end of the end, then it's building up into a climax, then you have the final act. And that's what we're doing with the 3 presentations. So we're building up, building up, building up, showing more and more what is possible with their kitchen. So very important. So now at this point, you have presented your 3 plans to the client. You've got them excited. Now the next part is also where you need to shine. You need to talk to them about product and explain to them, my cabinet that I'm offering you is built like this. It has 1/2-inch plywood sides, 1/2-inch plywood backs, 1/2-inch plywood bottoms. It's got a finished wood interior. It has a solid wood door on the front of the cabinet. It is the best that the industry has to offer. The drawer tracks are a Blum cushion close mechanism. These drawer tracks cost $35 a pair. They're the very best in the marketplace. I use a Blum hinge. The Blum hinge is cushion close. So when your husband gets mad at you and he tries to slam a drawer or a door, he can't. It's going to cushion close. People love the cushion close mechanisms. And again, what you're doing is that you're educating them, but you're also showing them your knowledge of product. Again, they got to have that faith in you. If you've taken the time to compare what they've already looked at the lumberyard, tell them the difference between the two cabinets. Tell them that you have your own installation crew. The lumberyard uses subcontractors. A subcontractor gets paid piecework. The quicker they get in, the quicker they get out, the more money that you make. Your installer's working for you. It's your reputation on the line. You have so much more to offer them than what the competition does. The next step is you've got to educate them about the cabinet doors and the wood species. When you talk about wood species, most clients don't even know what you're talking about. They say, oh, well, I like cherry. Well, that's not actually cherry. That's maple with a cherry stain on it. So you got to educate them about the wood species, the door styles. And again, this is proving that you know your product, you know your job. So what I typically do is that I explain to them that in regards to pricing, for wood species, we start out with oak. Now, oak has a lot of twists, a lot of twirls to oak in regards to the wood grain. So it's a little busy in regards to wood grain. Some people love that, some people don't. It's the least expensive because here in the eastern part of the United States, oak is very readily available. So it's just a matter of supply and demand. It's not a matter of different qualities of wood. These are all hardwoods. We don't use any softwoods in the cabinets. Next up from the oak is maple. Now, maple is a very tightly grained wood. Now, maple looks fantastic in the lighter shades of stain, but once you start to get into the darker stains, maple's going to look very blotchy looking. It's going to suck it into an end grain here, suck into some stain here, so it gives you that real blotchy look. So fantastic in the lighter shades of stain, and it has that very soft, subtle wood grain to it, so very popular. Next up from the maple, we can get into cherry. Now, cherry, whenever people see cherry, they think of that real deep, dark color with a mahogany stain on. Cherry's beautiful, even in its lighter shades, even in totally natural. Cherry is a gorgeous wood. Now, you have to explain to them that cherry will patina down a lot quicker than what the other wood species are. And what I'm talking about is woods will tend to darken over time, and most of them will take like a 2 to 5 year period. Cherry, in a matter of about 6 months, you will drop down about 2 color shades. So it does tend to get darker faster than what the other hardwoods does. But gorgeous wood. Then we get into some of the exotics, some of the exotic woods like hickory, for instance. Now, I explained to a client that hickory is either a wood that you love or you hate. Hickory in one piece of wood will go from light right into dark. And that's a natural characteristic of hickory. It's what makes it so beautiful. It's that dynamics and color range. But again, they'll either love it or they'll hate it. One thing that you can bring up about hickory is that hickory and pecan are actually the same wood. They refer to it as hickory before the tree develops its nut. After it develops its nut, they refer to it as pecan. So the more knowledge that you have, the more trust you're going to build between you and your client. Next up, you want to talk to them about countertops. Now, I will refer to them loosely as Formica because they understand what I'm talking about. Terminology is high pressure laminate. And laminate's been around for years and years and years. And customers ask, well, Don, should I go with laminate or should I go with, granite or the new quartz or the new Corian? Well, here's your scenarios. You can go out and look at a kitchen that's 25, 30 years old. That countertop's still in decent condition. So high pressure laminate is very durable. With high pressure laminate, its weak points are it's very resistant to scratches, but if you cut on it with a real sharp knife, yeah, you're going to scratch the Formica or high pressure laminate. Heat above 275 degrees. In other words, if you were to lay a cigarette on it and let it burn out, it's not going to hurt the laminate. But if you take a hot boiling pan off of a stove, you might be looking at 400 degrees on the bottom of that pan. You set that on laminate, you can burn laminate. So very tough, very durable. Like I said, those two things are the two things that are going to hurt high pressure laminate. Next up from that is solid surfacing material. People may refer to it as Corian. Corian brought it out first. A lot of different manufacturers. Solid surface material is fantastic around water. You'll see it used a lot in like hospitals, in a customer's room, around a sink or vanity or something like that, because it's very water resistant. The problem with solid surface that people don't understand, it's a very soft product, so it will scratch, it will burn. The idea of solid surface material is that it is repairable, so you can actually sand that blemish out, polish it back up again, but it's not a real durable surface. People that's had solid surface really don't care for it much. Next up from there is quartz and granite. Now, quartz, basically what they've done is they've grind the stone up and put it back together again. So basically what they've done is they've eliminated the veining in the granite, but in my mind they've lost a lot of the beauty of the granite because it's a much more consistent color. If they're looking for consistency, quartz may be the way to steer them. They also put materials into it as they put it back together to make it more bacteria resistant. Next up from there is granite. Now, you're talking about a rock. Can you cut on it? Sure. You're going to ball your knives real quick, but you can cut on it. You can take a hot pot right off the stove and set on it. Yeah, you're not going to hurt it. With the granite materials, what they do have to realize is that it will come with a sealer on. They have made the sealers and stuff better and better, but it does require some maintenance. It requires some sealer on it, and basically it's, people say, oh man, I don't want to do a lot of maintenance. What they don't understand is what it's like wiping your countertop off with a wet rag. You will put the sealer on a rag, you're going to wipe the granite off, you're going to let it set for half an hour, 45 minutes. Whatever the rock doesn't absorb, you wipe up the excess, so it's not a lot of work. But you also want to educate them on price. Normal laminate countertop in the kitchen, you're going to be looking at somewhere in a ballpark of around $1,500 or so. You go into the granites, you're going to be looking at, somewhere around $5,000, $6,000. So what you're doing is educating them in cost, but you're also giving them the opportunity to think in their mind, wow, I don't want to go into granite. I don't want $6,000 for a countertop. So when they ask me, what do you think, Don? I reply to them like this. Well, think about it like this. If you spend $5, $6 grand, $7 grand on granite countertops, are you going to be happy with that for the rest of your life? If you do a laminate countertop for, say, $1,000, $1,500, 5, 10 years from now, you get tired of it, you're not going to think twice about ripping that out and putting a new countertop in. Have a whole new fresh look on your kitchen. So basically it gives you something that down the road you can change and have a new look. The other thing that you have to think about, unfortunately, is resale. Now, if a customer comes in and they look at your kitchen and they say, oh, we got laminate countertops, automatically they know, hey, I'm going to have to spend $4 or $5 grand on granite. Well, they automatically know that. If they walk in and they see the granite that you chose and they say, ooh, I hate what they chose, I've got to change that. It's $4 or $5 grand. So Are they going to like what you chose? You know, so there's a lot of things to consider about a countertop. Now, for the doors for the cabinet, again, you want to educate your client. You can explain to them that you're going to start out in pricing in a flat panel door. Now, this has actually become very popular in the industry, that sort of shaker look, painted, what have you. But flat panel, starting out, this is a 1/4 inch plywood center panel. Now, some manufacturers offer this door in what's referred to as a reversed raised panel. Now, what I'm talking about is it's flat on the inside. Whenever you flip it over on the inside, it'll actually be raised, very similar to a solid wood raised panel door. And it's so that they can make the center panel solid wood instead of the 1/4 inch plywood panel. Now, if they're looking at the flat panel door, but they're looking in wood, see if I can try to explain this. What happens is that wood expands and contracts. That's a natural aspect of wood. As the moisture content in it goes up and down, it's going to expand, it's going to contract. So with a painted product, your problem is that if you go into a solid wood center panel, what will happen is you'll get the paint cracking around the center of the doors. Not a good thing. So in some instances, if they're looking at painted, it's actually better to have an MDF core, medium density fiber core, to where this isn't expanding and contracting like the real wood. If they're looking at it being in wood, then naturally the reversed raised panel is their better bet, because then they're getting solid wood instead of just a 1/4 inch MDF core or a plywood core. Now, next up from there is going to be a raised panel door. And that's what we have here. It's raised panel. And you may have some that have cathedral tops, square bottoms, or all square, what have you. You may be carrying a line where, regardless of base cabinets or square raised panel, but then you have the option to do the arch on just the wall cabinet doors. But you want to explain to them also, because again, they may be looking at something like this in a lumber yard, but the center panel is not solid wood. It's particle board covered with a wood veneer. It's not solid wood. So if they're looking at a solid wood door with you, you want to make sure they're not comparing you to a particle board door with a wood veneer on the top. Looking at it, they won't really know the difference. I mean, naturally, I deal with wood. I will see it. They won't. So tell them to ask the other person that they're getting a quote off of, what's their cabinets made out of? What about the door? What it's made out of? Now, with doors for the cabinet, typically the way the industry works is that the more complicated the door is to manufacture, the more expensive that it is. So they'll keep getting more and more fancy. This would be one of the most expensive doors. And this one's what's referred to as a miter door. Has a miter in the corner, and you can see that there's a lot of detail on this door. Some customers love it. Some older ladies look at this and say, yeah, I'm not going to be in there with a toothbrush trying to get stuff out of there. So it is gorgeous. You'll have some customers that absolutely will love this to death. Others that look at it at cleaning. As we get older, we start to look at those type of things. The next step. All right, so now we've laid out our presentation. We've showed them our plans. Next step is you want to ask your client, well, which plan do you think you'd like for me to go ahead and price out for you? You know, hopefully at this point, they've sort of narrowed it down to a plan. You know, what door style do you like? What wood species do you like? At this point, we want to start looking at doing the pricing on the project. So if you're fortunate enough to have that $2,000 program, you go in, you pop the door style in, pick your wood species, and boom, you got a color. If not, if you're working with that couple $100 program, it also gives you a time where you can step away from your client. You know, say, hey, this is going to take me about 15 minutes or so to price it out. Go ahead and look a little closer at the wood samples and the doors and stuff with you. It is nice if your office is away from the presentation area, only so that it gives them a chance to converse. They might talk about the plan a little bit. They might talk about the presentation. They might talk about whether or not they feel comfortable about doing business with you. They may say, you know, hey, what do you want to spend on this kitchen? So they already have an idea as to what they're thinking. Now, at this point, now you've got the price, you're coming back in, and you're presenting the cost factor to them. Now, what I normally do is I do this, is that you want to explain your pricing. Say, now this is including cabinets, okay, crown molding, toe kick material, and shoe base. Now, you know, a lot of people don't, at the lumberyard, don't even think about toe kick material and shoe base. So it's showing that my price is including all of this. Now, it doesn't include hardware, but handles, figure a couple $100 for your kitchen, you're covered on handles. Installation, here's my cost of my installation. This is my install team. And again, lumberyard's using a subcontractor. So keep everything broken down, show them how you got to your total. Now, at this time, again, you want to ask for that sell. Is this within the budgetary that you'd look at? I mean, do you want to look at a little more expensive wood species, or, you know, a little less expensive? Get a feel for if it's in the price point that they want to spend. Now, here's a couple things you can do as well. If you hit that lull where, I just don't know, it's a little more than I wanted to spend on the kitchen, you know, blah, 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 blah. Another thing that you can do is this, is that if you're working for somebody else, say, can you give me a minute? I want to make a phone call. Step away from them, but still in earshot. You want to make a phone call to the person that actually owns the business. Now, you're not actually calling them. I mean, they're probably home eating supper, you know, and watching TV, enjoying life. Anyways, your conversation should go like this. Mike, I have Mr. and Mrs. Smith in here, and we're looking at a fairly nice-sized kitchen. They're looking at cherry wood species and a price column 2-door style and a laminate countertop, and they're thinking about having us install. So right now we're around the $16,000 mark. Is there anything that you can do for these folks? I think we're real close, but the price is just a little more than they wanted to spend. Yeah, that includes the installation. Yeah, rolled edge countertop. Yeah. These, they live down in Masontown. Yeah. So it's close. We don't have very far to go. Okay. Wow, that sounds great. Thanks, Mike. Hey, have a great evening. Tell the missus I said hi. Come back to your client and you say, hey, listen, he said, if you take the deal tonight, and this is only tonight, he's going to knock $1,000 off right now if you sign a contract. Anyway, it does give you an opportunity to offer them a deal that's only for tonight. You're ready to sign. Now, if you reach that part of the conversation where they say, well, Dawn, you know, we want to think about it. Well, that pretty much is telling you just lost about 75% of the sale. So trying to close that first night is important, but you don't want to get to the point where you're pushing the customer so much that they feel under pressure and don't want to sign with you. So if you let the customer leave and they go home and they talk about it, yada, 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 you may get a call in a day or two, say, hey, Dawn, you know, we thought about this, we want to make a couple revisions, you know, can we do that? Or, you know, we thought about it, we want to look at this door style, you know, could you price that out for me? Absolutely. If you don't hear from them in a couple of days, you want to do what's referred to as a rehash deal. Now, a rehash deal, basically what you're going to do is you're going to call the client up and say, you know, hey, have you guys had a chance to think about, don't offer anything in the beginning. Have you guys had, you know, a chance to, you know, think about your project and what have you? I'd love to do business with you guys. Is there anything that I can do at this point to close the deal? Now, they may come back and say, hey, man, you know, it's $1,000 more than what we thought it was going to be. You know, can you work with that and still make money? Gee, I don't know. You know, I'm thinking, you know, maybe my brother-in-law can install this for me. You know, I don't know about the installation, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well, first of all, Joe, think about this. If my team does the installation, they come out to your job site and they go to put up a wall cabinet and they drop it. Guess who's buying you a new wall cabinet? That's going to be me. Brother-in-law Joe goes out, he's putting your kitchen up for you, he drops it, you're going to be buying a new cabinet. So there is a lot of big pluses to having my guy install the kitchen for you. Now, let me tell you, Mr. Jones, if I could do a little better in price, I mean, would that help? I mean, you know, if I gave you a better price on installation, would that help? It's called a rehash deal. So you're filling them out and seeing if there's any way that you can close this, and you're letting them know, I want your business. Again, you've got to sell yourself, got to ask for that sell. That completes chapter 4. I hope that you're finding this informative, and if you are, please like and subscribe, and have a great day.